Good afternoon, everyone. Great to be with all of you today. Thank you, Amit, for inviting me, and thank you, Amit, for inviting me to present at the last session before lunch, the coveted session. Fortunately, it's a breezy 30-minute session, and I'm fortunate to have a one-woman panel, Swati, on the consulting industry. And the consulting industry is, as you may have seen in the booklet, one of the most dominant recruiters in business schools in India, around the world. It's also one of the most aspirational sectors for students in terms of coveted jobs for post-graduation. The dominance you would have seen at Harvard Business School last year, 23% of the graduating class went into consulting. And almost all of them went into the top three there, McKinsey, Bain, and BCG. Likewise, I saw ISB, 22% went into the consulting firms, mostly these same three. Many of the consulting firms are also recruiting heavily from the undergrad segment today, right? So it's a huge sector for where students are going. And in the research, I also saw that 26% of graduating students in the MBA program think of consulting as their top priority in the job market, and 60% listed it in the top three priorities. So it's really important for today's conversation. And it's also a topic that's close to my heart. Many years ago, I was one of those aspiring students who wanted to be in consulting after my MBA. And in my case, it was an aspiration only because I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So consulting was an easy way of getting into the workforce and then figuring it out later. And I was fortunate enough to work for the first 12 years of my career in two consulting firms, in Arthur Andersen in India and then with Arthur D. Little strategy practice in Southeast Asia, working for firms across Asia and Middle East. And in many ways, consulting firms are the bellwether of the trends that are happening in industry, both today's trends as well as some of the trends in the future. So I'm really excited today to uncover some of those trends that we are seeing. And with the pace of change that businesses and CEOs are subject to today, as we've heard, even in the financial services sector, the demand for consultants, the wisdom, the benchmarks, the latest thinking, the trends is more than ever, right? And also comes with it the whole need for consulting support to manage and support change. I mean, as an example, we've been talking about digital transformation for years now, for the last 7, 8 years. And even as businesses are getting their arms around that now, there is the whole, trend of Gen AI, and most CEOs are trying to figure out, is this a threat? Is it an opportunity? What do I do with it? And like the last gentleman from EY showed, right now everyone's saying they're into into AI, but not knowing exactly what it is. So that's something that, again, people are leaning into consulting firms to help with. But it's not just about technology shifts, right? There's regulatory shifts. There's social and consumer habits that are changing. There's the whole geopolitical shifts that businesses are subject to. The data privacy, cybersecurity was mentioned. The whole movement to hybrid work, the war for talent, climate change imperatives. So there's so many trends that are impacting business that people are looking to consulting firms to help them with. And no surprise, the consulting industry is growing. Globally, it's a $300 billion industry, 350 billion, and forecast to grow to 400 in 3 years from now. In India, so globally it's growing at about 5% a year, so roughly. In India, it's growing at 30%, but it's still small. It's a $3 billion industry in India by research forecast, but growing at a whopping 30% a year, right? In the opening remarks, I said I'd love to understand some of the trends in consulting and how you add value to your client and the firm. I think what was really interesting to see you share is how consulting is also adding value to society. The examples of the crop burning, containing that, or the work you're doing to support growth in UP. It's fascinating, and I think that's a less understood and less spoken aspect of consulting. I've seen consulting firms do this for fees of $1 or 1 rupee, purely as a social initiative. So thank you, and I love that you've brought in such real-life examples and case studies to everyone's understanding. Thank you, everyone, and sorry we haven't had time to engage with you through questions, but happy to do that over lunch.